If you're operating on the level of thinking, this video is going to show you how to transcend that and allow God to pay your rent, right? Allow God to come into your life fully so that you can truly experience abundance. If we just take that word abundance alone, in fact, my clients and students have manifested large sums of money.
I just want to thank you, Gavin. I received $125,000.
Gavin Stevenson. One little insight on what to do right has made me a ton of money.
But if we take that abundance word and we try to imagine it with our minds, we try to think our way through it, it's always going to be a limitation, right? Our idea of abundance is going to be different for every individual, but it's always going to be a limitation, right? God is not thinking limitation. God is not operating limitation. It's infinite, omnipresent, omniscient. And so we're trying to think our way to success. We're trying to think our way to happiness. We're trying to think our way to love. We're trying to think our way to having the enlightenment experience. But the truth is, all thinking, all thoughts are always going to be limited. So you will only find God through presence. You will only find God through the present moment. And let me explain what I mean by that. When people participate in something like psychedelics or breath work, they're able to reach higher states of consciousness. And again, not higher states of thinking, okay, higher states of consciousness. And I would even say thinking is low vibrational, whereas consciousness is very high vibrational. So in consciousness, in raising your consciousness through a psychedelic, through breath work or something of this nature, we begin to transcend limitation. We begin to transcend the mind. We begin to transcend the ego, the narratives, the stories. And even sometimes when we drink some alcohol, right, we lose our inhibitions. We lose that fear response. And we start doing things that we don't usually do. So you can kind of subtly tell here that your level of consciousness is changing. Your brain is being altered. And so you're no longer thinking and operating in the same way. Okay. And many people who have participated in psychedelics or breath work, very powerful breath work, transformational breath, and experience like DMT and ayahuasca and things like this, they will tell you that they've experienced something that they've never experienced before, whether that's a deep and profound love or a deep knowing that there's something more to our reality that we can't see with our physical eyes and feel with our physical body. And so even that in itself, our ears or our brain can only see certain frequency or hear certain frequency, right? We can only see certain frequencies, hear certain frequencies. And so again, once again, we have that limitation of mind. Now we can think loads of different kinds of thoughts, but even the idea that we can think all of these thoughts is also limitation. So when we have those experiences where we transcend the illusion, we are transcending the mind through psychedelics or breathwork or something like this, again, we are activating who we really are in those moments. We're actually seeing more to who we are than our limited mind concept and what we see in the 3D paradigm. And so if we want to have God pay our rent, we have to first understand that thinking is never going to bring the type of abundance that we really want in our lives. Many people who have high levels of success actually think less. In fact, it's been proven in science that people who live average income, have an average lifestyle, just the general public, they think around 70 to 80,000 thoughts per day. Whereas someone who is an athlete, an elite athlete, someone who is CEO, owners of companies, entrepreneurs, they have around 20,000 thoughts or less per day, which is a significant gap. And we can see why, just from that alone, why people are able to become more financially successful. Now, I'm not saying that's your goal to become financially successful or to make more money. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe you're just looking for a relationship or something like this. Or maybe you just want to reach higher states of consciousness and you want to find that peace and equanimity inside of yourself. All of that can manifest itself through God and through being in a state of presence. Presence is the bridge between you and God. When we think less, we experience more God. The more that we think, the more that we are further away from God, even though thoughts are God too. I know that sounds a little bit contradictory, but everything is God, right? The whole entire universe is God. Everything is God. And so we have to acknowledge that also thoughts are God. But what I'm saying is to really experience it in the body, to really walk through life in presence in God, we have to first surrender our thoughts and not be attached to our thoughts and let the thoughts do whatever they will, right? And as you begin to do that, specifically around the area of money, success, and abundance, you'll see more of it show up in your life. Why? Because your brain is becoming more pure. You're becoming more empty. When you become an empty vessel, God can use you and you can be guided to the direction that you need to go down in order to manifest, co-create, shift realities as you will. So when you think something, it's just done. That's how God operates, kind of, right? It's just making stuff happen. The tree just grows, right? The cells just move around in the body and do whatever they need to do. Things are just happening through God. And as you begin to clear the mind of all of these narrative stories, beliefs, ideas, concepts, then we begin to experience more of who we really are, that we don't need to manifest our reality. We don't need to create our reality. We just need to choose it. This is just a choice and it's done. And there's been so many experiences that I've personally had where I'm not necessarily trying to manifest something. It's just that I talk about something and it just happens. I say something and it just comes into fruition. I need a solution to a problem and it shows up in my life. And the more clear that we become in our thinking, meaning thinking less or having less thoughts and becoming more present, being here now in the present moment, that's when we experience more manifestation. So I just want to talk a little bit about how it was for me in the past. Like I used to do sometimes visualization, or maybe I'll use some affirmations, or I listen to some subliminals or some frequencies to manifest or shape my reality, so to speak. And even when it came to getting rid of limiting beliefs or reaching higher states of consciousness, I used to go through a process of maybe writing it down, doing my affirmations and getting clear on what I want and stuff like this. And then thinking about it and feeling about it every day and intending it and hoping and wishing and desiring for my reality to shift. I then realized that as I'm doing this, as I'm desiring, it seems like I'm continually desiring and the goal is near, but it never actually manifests itself. Does that make sense? That doesn't actually come into fruition. And that's the problem with desire. Desire is the implication that you don't have something. And so we keep on experiencing that we don't have something. And so I started to realize that using affirmations and these techniques are also implying that I don't have it. So if I'm using an affirmation and I'm claiming that I am successful or I am rich, I'm also saying at the same time that I'm not that, right? Why would I claim something that I am? Why would I claim something that I am in order to convince the universe that I am that, and then, or convince my mind that I am that, and then whilst feeling at the same time that I'm not that, right? It doesn't make sense. It's contradictory. And for some people, it's very hard to get to that space where you're using an affirmation and it's clear in presence. You're saying it from a place of presence that I am successful. I don't know if you know what I mean there, but there's no gap, right? There's no gap between, you're not becoming successful as you're saying it. You just are successful. So these are things I started to notice about myself, is that everything that I want or desire is in the future. Right? If I want to make more money, if I want my rent paid, if I want to travel the world, it's always in the future. There's always a gap. There's always a distance. And I'm thinking in terms of distance and gap and time and hard and easy and slow and fast. And as I dove into spirituality more and more, non-duality more and more, I realized just am, just am, just is, just done, just, right? And that space, there's no distance between you and the thing. There's no fast or slow. You don't care or not whether it's going to manifest. There's no desiring. There's no hoping, wishing. There's no letting go. Why would we need to let go if we already have? And so I started to shift into the space of presence. And that in presence, it's just now, right? Just now. And so I created a newsletter, by the way, if you want to join. There's a link in the description where I give daily insights on practicing presence so you can have God pay your rent and much more. And, when I say pay your rent, I mean like, you're making multiple streams of income. You're able to travel the world. You can live your life through God, with God, as God. And so I started to learn that I need to surrender thinking, surrender the me that thinks I'm creating something, that thinks I am someone who is powerful and confident and can transform people's lives. All of that is narratives and stories. What is confidence? What is someone who is powerful? What is all of this stuff? It's all an illusion of the mind of the matrix. We're creating narratives and stories on what powerful is and what is not powerful, right? And so there's this idea that I need to become the greatest version of myself, or I need to become a better version of myself, or I need to grow, or I'm feeling not enough, or I'm not worthy of something, or whatever it is, imposter syndrome. All of these limiting beliefs and ideas and concepts about self, right? This is just the brain spinning electrical signals. It's just the brain having thought. And thought has literally no power unless you give it power. And that's where the power comes in, is when you realize that thoughts have no power. And so every idea and concept or image that you have of yourself is always going to be a lie. Doesn't matter if you believe you are confident. We can believe in lies. In fact, the word believe has the word lie in it, right? Belief. Belief or belief. Yeah, belief has the word lie in it, right? So beliefs are lies that we tell ourselves over and over and over again, and it convinces us that it's the truth. But there is not one belief that can be actually true. There's not one belief in this entire world that can be actually true. You either know or you don't know. There's no space in between. And knowing is knowing like that gravity exists, right? That when you jump, you drop. It's a law, right? Knowing is knowing that the sun's going to come up tomorrow. It doesn't really come up, but you understand what I mean, right? The sun's going to come. It's going to be day and night in certain places in the world. In some places, it stays day all day, right? But you get the gist of what I mean. You know this by law that this is going to happen. And we are in a state of desire. We are in a state of wanting. We are in a state of lack and limitation that This is not law. This is hoping, wishing, trying to make stuff happen. And so when you're operating on hoping, wishing, trying to make stuff happen, obviously, at the same time, we're not operating on law. Okay. And the law is that I say it is done. I think it is done. Right? And that is when you're surrendered to all thought, to all ideas and beliefs. Like if I set a goal to, I don't know, do public speaking and have speak in front of thousands of people and transform many people's lives, right? If I had that goal, it's just done. I don't have to think and hope, or I don't have to worry about how I'm going to be, or how I'm going to do it, or how it's going to turn out, or how I'm going to get there, or who's going to help me, or where to get started, and all of this stuff. Narratives, stories, limiting beliefs, thinking. I just said it, and maybe I'll take a small action towards it. Maybe I'll watch a YouTube video on it or whatever, and let the snowball start to grow, until it becomes an avalanche or whatever you want to call it, right? I'm not out here trying to think of all the things that need to happen or how they're going to happen. It's God's plans, right? And so I've set the intention, and that is it. And it's in my belief, which is a belief, my concept of my reality, that the real truth is that life is simple. We have just made it overcomplicated. That everything inside of our bodies right now is super duper complicated. Just our brain alone, the heart beating, all the cells and atoms and molecules and particles and electrons, and all of this stuff is extremely complicated. However, it's pretty easy to use your body. It's pretty easy to use your body, right? In fact, some of the functions, a lot of the functions are happening automatically. Even me talking right now is happening automatically. And there's a lot of processes happening in the brain for me to communicate what I'm saying to you right now. So it's unbelievable. It's magical. It's a miracle that this is happening, and you can actually hear me, and it's been interpreted, and then you're getting your ahas and realizations, and wow, whoop-de-woo, whatever that means, right? You're getting all this stuff, and you're experiencing something here, right? Can we surrender to that? Can we surrender to the idea that all of this magic is happening for us every single day? Oxygen is being produced. We can breathe. We can experience the sun. The earth is rotating. All of this stuff is happening auto-magically, right? And we're out here trying to think. We're out here trying to make stuff happen. So I just want to put a disclaimer. I'm not saying that I don't think at all. Like I set an intention. When the opportunity or the video arises or whatever I search for happens, then I'll take the next step, and then I'll start thinking about that, and then I'll take the next step, and I just surrender to God. It's like, how do you balance that yin and yang energy? How do you balance that masculine and feminine, spiritual, practical energy? We live in the 3D reality. We can go completely woo-woo and spiritual if we want, but for a lot of people, they're going to lose their couch, right? I'm not saying to be totally impractical. What I'm saying is we are oftentimes afraid to fully surrender to the truth of God. And that, yes, God can pay your rent, but I'm worried that if I do that, bad things are going to happen or things are going to go wrong. And yeah, maybe they will. But your idea of seeing them as bad is also your mind, and it's also your thinking. It's also thought, once again, getting in the way, stopping you from achieving the success and happiness and joy and abundance that you know you can have in your life. So I'm not saying this because I want you to be totally illogical. I want you to realize how much the mind blocks your success, blocks your progress, blocks your relationships, and how you think about your relationships, how you think about your partner, how you think about your kids, how you think about your job, your career, all of this stuff. we limit ourselves with our thinking, and the thinking is so, it can be so detrimental to our mental health, so detrimental. The thought, or thinking can mess with our health, and like, thinking alone can mess with your health. So um, it is really powerful things, right? But at the same time, when we transcend thinking and we have less thinking, we create more abundance in our lives. Okay? Check out my newsletter, links in the description. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.